Like a real push list or just
We have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous, who died as a propitiation or a sufficient sacrifice, not for our sake, but for the entire world. A world full of people just like you and me. A world full of people that come from all different walks of life. A world full of people with different backgrounds and different stories and different types of family dynamics. As I said earlier, Jesus Christ is for all kinds of people. He's not just for a certain demographic. He's for everybody. But it says here again, blessed is the man whose sin is forgiven. Blessed is the man whose transgression is covered, whose sin is covered. But then it says in this, verse 3, I always find this rather fascinating, because again, remember, the Bible speaks about our condition. It speaks about your condition, good sir. And it says this, for when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. Through my groaning all day long, for day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. Selah. I think we need to pause on that. I think we need to just take a moment and just let that sink in, because that's what the Bible is telling us to do. Is to say, look, when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. When I kept silent about my sin, when I kept silent about my condition against God, my strength dried up as in the heat of summer. Listen,
lots of people out now.
Some of you are going through such incredible turmoil and tribulation. Some of you have such a weighted conscience. Some of you are dealing with guilt and shame. My friend, that's God speaking to you. And what we're saying to you is you got to deal with your sin. Rather than carry that burden, rather than carry that guilt, rather than carry that shame, you got to go to the cross. Because as the psalmist says, when he refused to confess his sin, when he refused to open up his mouth and be honest with God and step into the light as he is in the light, he was found in an absolute weakened, despondent state. Your hand, it says, God's hand, was heavy on me all the day. I'm telling you, as one who felt that conviction, go to Christ. Allow him to remove the burden. It says, in verse 5, it says, I acknowledge my sin. That was the remedy to the hand that was heavy. That was the remedy, my friend, of the burden and the heavy. Not covering his iniquity, not trying to hide it. He said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. You see, many of you are trying to run from God. Many of you are trying to hide things from God. Saying, oh, God won't see this. God doesn't know. I mean, we even go so far as to deny his existence. But here's the thing. God knows all, sir. God knows all.
Thank you so much.
God sees all. It says in the Bible that God's eyes roam about to and fro, watching and discerning. It describes Jesus in the book of Revelation. It says that he has eyes of flame of fire. What does that mean? It means that his gaze is perfect. He's able to discern what is right and what is wrong. He is able to discern the truth from error. And as I said before, you cannot hide things from God. He sees in the darkest of night. He knows what goes on in your head. He knows what goes on in your heart. And we see in the text that we just read that the psalmist says, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to hide my sin. I'm going to confess it. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be honest with it. And my friend, the Bible says, if you confess your sin, God is faithful and just to forgive you of your sin and cleanse you from all unrighteousness.